Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In last period we studied sensation in plant, and we know sensation in plant includes responses to touch and darkness. Number 2, tropism, and we studied before responses to touch and darkness in mimosa plant. And now we'll study the second form in sensation in plant, which called tropism. We studied in prep 3 in human body there is hormone which is responsible for all vital activities, which secreted from gland. But what about of plant? The plant has no hormone, but instead there is a certain chemical compound called auxin, which is responsible for any process happening in plant. This auxin secreted from certain area in plant called cloacal tip. If this seedling or a young plant, the upper part of this seedling called cloacal tip, this area responsible for secreted chemical substance called auxin. In normal case, the concentration of auxin inside each cell of seedling is equal, so the rate of growing of the both sides of the plant becomes by the same degree. So the rate of growth of this side becomes equal this side because the concentration of auxin in the both of sides equal. So the plant grow up and down in a straight way without any bending. But in some cases, the amount or concentration of auxin in one side becomes more or less the other side. So by this way, we have an equal distribution of auxin in the both sides of plant. So if we measure, we have seedling like this way, and the concentration of auxin in this side becomes more than this side. For example, this side A and this side B. So by this way, the concentration of auxin inside A more than side B. So, do you think the both of side A and B grows by the same rate? Of course no. Why? Because the concentration of side A, concentration of auxin inside A, more than concentration of auxin inside B. So, the side A grow more than or faster than side B by this way. Grow faster than side B. Okay, so side A what curved by this way, curved towards what? Towards the side B, which its growth is less ratio or is slowly relative to side A. Okay, this action or this curvature or this bending called tropism. So tropism is curvature or bending of a stem or root. But the question now, what about of the factors which affect on the concentration of auxin or which make the concentration of auxin increase inside more than the other? We have three factors, which are number 1, light, number 2, gravity, and number 3, odor. If the auxin affected by light, so this is tropism called phototropism, and if affected by gravity, so called geotropism, and if the auxin affected by water, called hydrotropism. So we have three types of tropism: phototropism, geotropism, and hydrotropism. Now we start in the first type of tropism, which is called phototropism. As the first, we make together the sample activity. We bring the straight seedling found in cork disc. and this straight seedling. We put this cork disc and seedling inside container containing water. And we put this container inside dark box. By this way, has small hole in one side from the box, and leave it for several days. After these several days, we observe the stem tip inclined toward this hole. By this way, so the stem or tip inclined toward this hole due to the presence of light, while root grows away from holes by this way. So stem bends towards light, but root bends away from light. But to know the reasons of this tropism, we as a forest we must know two information. Number one, oxen move towards light, move towards water and gravity, and move away from light. Point number two, by increasing the concentration of oxygen in stem, this activates elongation, so the growing becomes faster. But by increasing the oxygen in root, this inhibits elongation of root, so the growing of the root cell in this case becomes less than stem. So if we measure, we have now seedling, side A and side B, and there is light facing only one side from it. So do you think the concentration of oxygen in the positive side is still the same? Sure, no. Or what happened? We said before, the oxygen, if you remember, that move towards light or away from light. We said the oxygen move away from light. So do you think the concentration of oxygen becomes more in any side? Side A, which facing the light, or side B, which away from light? We said what? The oxygen move away from light. So the most of oxygen which found in side A migrate to side B. So the concentration of oxygen in side B, which found away from light, becomes more the oxygen which found in side A, because it's facing the light. What happened after that? We said before, if you remember, that by increasing the concentration in a stem, what happened for growth of plant? Do you think increase or decrease? Of course increase. Why? Because we said by increasing concentration of oxygen in a stem, the elongation of stem activated, so becomes more. But the opposite case happened in root. By increasing the concentration of oxygen in root, the activation the elongation of this root will decrease. So if we the first part of this seedling, this represents stem. Okay, so if we know what happened for the upper area of this plant, the concentration of side B more than side A, okay, and the upper part represents stem. And we said before, by increasing concentration of oxygen in a stem, what happened for growth is increase or decrease? Sure, increase. So do you think any side A or B grow faster? Sure, B. Why? Because the side B what contains more oxygen more than A, so the rate of growing of side B becomes more than A by this way. So what happened? So this side curved to side A by this way. So the stem curved to what? To light. So by this way, what happened? tropism, which called phototropism. Why called phototropism? Because the factor in this case is light, but the stem bend towards light or away from light, towards light. So this is called positive phototropism. The lower part of this plant represent root, and also we said by increasing concentration of oxygen in root, the rate of elongation increase or decrease, should decrease. Okay, type in this case the concentration of oxygen in any side more, side A or side B, should side B. So do you think anyone grow faster, A or B? A. Why? Because by increasing concentration of oxygen in root, the rate of growth decrease. So the rate of growth of side A in this case becomes what? Faster than becomes what? Faster than side B, because side B contains more amount of oxygen. Okay, so the side B curved towards B by this way. So it is also phototropism, but in this case root bends away or towards light. Sure is what? Is away from light. So this is called what? Called negative what? Phototropism. So stem positive phototropism because it bends towards light. Okay, but root is negative phototropism because it bends away from light. And this shape of phototropism, the plant or stem bends towards light by this way. Okay, it not grow in straight way. No, it bends towards what? Towards light, and show the root away from light. Second type of tropism called geotropism, and the factor in this case is gravity. We bring seedling and we put it in a horizontal position by this way. Also this side A and side B, and sure gravity found where side A or side B. Sure side B, because the gravity sure found in the center of the earth. So the gravity not found in the both of sides, but it faces side B only. So do you think concentration of oxygen in the both of side A and B stays the same? If you remember, we said before the oxygen move towards or away from gravity. We said the oxygen move towards gravity. So the most amount of oxygen move to side A or B should move to side B. Why? Because the side B near to gravity. So the concentration of oxygen in side B should more, but inside A is less amount. So also if the first part represent stem, okay, and the lower part represent root. So now we start in stem. The concentration of oxygen in any side more, side B more than A in stem. So do you think side A or side B grows faster? If you remember, we said before by increasing the concentration of oxygen in stem, what happens for elongation is what is activated. Okay, so side B grows faster than A. By this way, side B grows faster than side A because the concentration of oxygen in this side more than A. So the B bends towards side A. So by this way happen tropism. But this tropism called geotropism because the factors in this case is gravity. But in root, by increasing concentration of oxygen, its elongation decrease. So the side B grows faster than B and bends down by this way, and this also called geotropism. But if we measure, if we observe or we make comparison between the tropism which happen in the stem and root, the stem move up, so it's towards gravity or away, sure, away from gravity, so this is called negative geotropism. Okay, but root bends towards gravity, so this is called positive geotropism. So the stem negative geotropism, but root positive geotropism. Third type of tropism is hydrotropism, and oxygen in this type affected by water. We bring container containing soil and seedling like this figure, and we add water inside A, only, but inside B contains dry soil. So water inside A is more than side B. But what about of oxygen? Oxygen move toward this water or away from water? The oxygen move toward this what? Toward this water, like gravity. So the most of oxygen move from side B to A. Why? Because the side A facing what? Facing water. So the side A in stem grow faster than side B, but in root side B grows faster than side A. So by this way happen tropism, and this tropism called hydrotropism. Okay, but in stem the stem bends away from water, so this is called negative hydrotropism. But in root bends towards water, so is called positive tropism, positive hydrotropism. So if we make comparison among the three types of tropism, photogeo and hydrotropism, this term is positive phototropism because it towards light, but negative in the other types, but or not affected by water or not affected by the hydrotropism. But root is negative phototropism, but positive in the other types, geo and hydro, because root found in the soil, and the soil contains geo and hydrotropism.